Welcome into another edition of Talkin Ducks. We've got a big one coming up here for Oregon after they took quick work of Oregon State. A little bit of a slow start, but finally had no issue with the Beavers in the second half because it's Oregon versus Penn State in Happy Valley. It's a whiteout game and a top 10 matchup between two of the top teams in the nation. But let's go ahead and get to our opening drive, brought to you by Guarantee Chevrolet. And with that, we welcome in the rest of the crew, Aaron Fentress, Anthony Newman, and of course, George Wrighster. And George, I want to start with you because everything on paper makes this to be an epic game between Oregon and Penn State. Obviously, last year's Big Ten title game was very entertaining. Yep. But now Oregon's on the road in Happy Valley. I can't even remember the last time they went and played a game there, if ever. It's going to be a whiteout. It's a night game. Everything that you could hope for in a monumental game between both these teams, and as a college football fan, is right there this Saturday.
Yeah, this is an amazing situation. If you think about Oregon's history, right? Penn State could have chosen any game on their schedule to be the whiteout game because they only get one per year. Who did they choose? The biggest game on the schedule, the Oregon Ducks. You look at the team that beat them in the Big Ten championship. So it just shows where the program is at right now and how big of a statement that this is because game day is going to be there. So it's big noon kickoff. Oh, but there's an Alabama-Georgia game going on. Oh, so it's bigger than that game. That lets you know where things are right now. And as an Oregon fan, you have to love it because when you see the growth of the program and to be in these types of moments is special.
And Aaron, I mean, it's exactly everything you hope for because you get excited when you see the season schedule come out and there's 12 to 13 games that you're circling, but really there's only a couple of weeks every year where you get this caliber of a matchup, and these are the games that define a season potentially or set the stage for you to make that leap into the national championship conversation. And here it is for Oregon. It's going to be a key road test, and they've done this before where they've had a key Big Ten road test.
This is what I've been waiting for. This is why I suffered through those first 4 bogus matchups. No offense to anyone who scheduled those things, but they are what they are. That's why I got into sports writing. That's why I want to get paid to watch sports. I want to get paid to watch events like this. It's going to be amazing. I can't wait to get out there. Well, I'm not looking forward to the actual travel, but getting there will be amazing. There's 2 really good football teams who have a lot of question marks still. Penn State returned more talent, proven talent from last year, but they haven't looked as dominant as you'd expect them to look in their first 3 games, which their schedule was no easier than Oregon's. So both teams still have a lot to prove. And the good thing about this too, especially with the expanded playoffs, is that no matter what happens, it doesn't ruin the season for the loser, right? It's just something to catapult you to something, else as you look to improve. And for Oregon, they're gonna have a bye week, and then they're gonna have Indiana, which looks really good right about now. So I love this matchup. I can't wait. There's so many different storylines, so many different things going on to try and figure out and wrap your mind around as you try and predict who's gonna win. I have a prediction, but I'm not like wedded to it because I think there's going to be so many questions.
We got time to get to that as well too.
No. I'm not giving it to you. I'm just saying I got one, but I'm saying that I'm not wedded to it because there's just so many question marks, which is what adds to the drama.
And Anthony, it's interesting because last year for Oregon, their biggest game of the year was at home against Ohio State. It was homecoming, and you're gearing up for that with your fans behind you. This year, their biggest game of the season is on the road. And as George pointed out, this is the one that Penn State circled as their whiteout. So now you've got to go, and you're going to be tested by Penn State far more than you've been tested by anybody else this season. What do you make of this situation for Oregon that they're stepping into?
Hey, let's go. Let's get it. I mean, this is what you're playing the games for. This is why you love football. And these young kids for Oregon, first time on the stage, they're excited. And, I'm a guy, I don't care where we play the game. I don't care if it's the white out, if it's the green out, whatever. Let's play. If it's a football field, let's play ball. This game is, you're going to see some big plays by both teams. Good football teams, good coaching staff. It's going to be a lot of fun, but it's 4 quarters of football. And then we see the team that plays 4 quarters and minimize the mistakes, they'll be on top.
And George, give us the summary. We're going to dive so much deeper into this matchup and look at both sides of the ball. But Does Oregon look ready for this test after a very shaky first half against Oregon State, finally closing out the Beavers? But really, again, the Ducks have beaten an FCS opponent, an Oklahoma State team that looks like they're ready to just completely get rid of their entire staff and start from scratch. And then Oregon State, that's winless on the year.
Yeah, well, and then the Northwestern game as well. The I believe that they are ready because everything has been escalating every single week, and you've seen a team in Oregon State that was throwing for like 300 yards a game finish with what, like 68 or 80 yards. That was
Yeah.
impressive. And you have seen a like even when Oregon didn't bring their A game, maybe in the first half of the Northwestern game, they still were dominant, and that's what you love to see. And you know that Dan Lanning and this whole team, this is a crescendo moment in terms of the beginning of the season where you have to come out and you're going to be tested. You have to play well, and that's what I love is that you haven't seen them play down to their competition. They have just been, concentrating on their own standard and raising their own standard, and you're starting to see some chemistry between the quarterback and the wide receivers. I mean, we still have questions about who's going to be the lead running back, but overall, you're starting to see this team gel and you're going to see this roster shorten. And I've talked about this for the last 2 weeks about how much the roster is going to shorten in terms of how many people play versus Penn State. And it's going to be clear who the alpha dogs on this team are.
Lastly, Anthony, if you're the Ducks, where's your confidence level heading into this one?
Well, high. I mean, you've been playing well. You still understand that you're about to play a team that's different than everybody else you've played. Okay, so no disrespect to the other teams, but this is Penn State. They got some dudes on this football team that can play. You're going to be challenged up front. You're going to be challenged on the back end, and then you're playing at their house. And they're also looking for redemption from last year. So even though the teams are different, the guys are different, the coaching staff, most of them are the same. But that team is ready for you. They're waiting for you. But sometimes be careful what you ask for. Because
can I
Go ahead.
bring up a point? Is that okay? Remember back in 2021, Oregon was 14-point dogs going into Ohio State. That win was billed as, oh my God, this was such an upset, right? If Oregon goes into Happy Valley and wins, nobody's going to call it an upset. They're gonna say oh my God, Oregon's just better than we thought they were, or this was their first test and they got a chance to prove it. And I want people to keep things in perspective in terms of the program. When you have a top 6 matchup and nobody's looking at it like, oh my God, that'll be such a huge upset. That is when you have reached the upper echelon of college football in terms of how people view you, how people look at you, and please don't lose that joy and that excitement that you have of watching your team play and take this for granted, because be where your feet are and enjoy these moments and enjoy these times, because there are going to be times where they're not like this.
No, we have been through those before. So, all right, well, stick around. When we come back, we'll talk more about Dante Moore, his career day against the Beavers. Is he ready to step up and deliver on the road? Don't go anywhere. We're just getting started on this edition of Talkin Ducks. Welcome back to Talkin Ducks. And Aaron, pretty nice day for Dante Moore at home against Oregon State. And you go back and you watch the highlights, and it just felt like it was dot after dot after dot on the outside. And listen, receivers made some incredible plays, but you had raved about him coming into this season, about the arm talent, and it felt like we saw that on more display than ever before in this 4-game start to the season so far.
Yeah, he looked great. His back shoulder throws to Decorian and Moore are impressive. They are laser beams, so to speak. It was nice to see him really sort of stretch out and really go downfield, even more so in this game than he had maybe combined in the first 3 games. I thought he looked special, right? But here's my thing.
Mm-hmm.
I know.
Let's go.
Here, I know, Mr. Caveat,
We've been waiting.
So
Aaron
here's the deal.
Waiting for for weeks. He had to wait 13 games left to the 14th game last year. Now, here is his opportunity. Come on, Aaron. Let's go. We've been waiting.
Okay. So I'm not going to say that Dante Moore is going to necessarily struggle this week. But I do think there's a huge mystery out there because, yeah, he's looked great. 18 touchdowns, 2 interceptions in his career against Coastal Carolina, San Diego State, North Carolina Central, Montana State, Oklahoma State, Northwestern, Oregon State. Okay, that's great. Like, you can't do much better than that, but we've never seen him have a really good game against a Power 4 team in the Pac-12.
He ain't been on a team like this, Aaron.
Let me finish, George. I know it's hard. I'm getting to a bigger crescendo here. So we haven't seen it yet, but he's 2 years removed from that. He spent a year last year learning behind Dylan Gabriel, right? So now he's coming to this season, clearly mastered the offense. But here's the point I'm going to make, all right? Marcus Mariota, his redshirt freshman year, looked amazing, right? Through 9 games. As a matter of fact, games, I think 8 and 9, he threw 10 touchdown passes, 6 against Cal and 377. He had 4 and 300 yards against USC at USC when Kenyon rushed for 367,000 yards. But then came what? Stanford. And that was at home, and boom, Marcus got shut down. He had to learn and grow from that. I just wonder if Dante Moore is ready to go on the road to a place like Penn State, whiteout, in Happy Valley with a team, right, that's going to run the football. They've run the football well against Oregon 4 last year. They ran it through the playoffs. They returned most of their line on 2 great backs. So that means Moore is going to have a really big day for them to win, period. They're going to have to throw for 290, 325, 3 or 4 touchdowns for them to win. Is he ready for that? Nobody knows. I'm not saying he isn't, but man, we have no evidence that he is because he's never done anything close to what he's going to be asked to do on Saturday. And seen.
George, do you agree with this? The fact that we've seen some impressive numbers to start the season, but the competition level clearly going to be much more superior in this matchup against Penn State.
On one hand, Aaron's right. That
Whoa! Hold on.
Just cut.
No.
Next, go to Newman.
Hold on. You were talking about his driving directions, right? That Aaron was taking a right?
No.
Okay, you're talking about Aaron off the tee box in golf. He was right.
No, I'm always right.
Listen, a broken clock is right twice a day. And this and he ran into this one. Is that yes, we have not seen it. We hadn't seen Gunnar Stockton do it. We hadn't seen nobody's done it until they've done it.
So they do it. Exactly.
All the signs. There are signs.
Yes,
and there are signs this season that everything will be A-okay, that he's not going to go wet the bed on Saturday. I feel confident.
But there were more signs for Marcus. Marcus was 9 games in, looked unstoppable.
You are looking
bam!
at number one, Aaron. Most importantly, these are different times. This is a different roster. This is a different head coach. This is a totally different player. He has already gone through those struggles. And you see the leadership, the confidence, and everything else. So that's why I say Aaron's right. Yes, we have not seen it. How that we didn't see Usain Bolt or Michael Johnson win the Olympics, but there were signs they were going to win. So, like, come on, man. He's like listen, I will not believe Oregon can win this game until after the game is over. That's what I'll believe.
So true.
But let me add this, though.
Go ahead.
Real quick. If he does go in there and he struggles, that's okay. Because sometimes you need that to take the next step in your development. So it's not the end of the world. Correct. He could go in and struggle Saturday, and they could meet again down the road. He lights them up. But I'm just saying, this first time out, it's going to be a lot.
Are you anticipating a struggle, Aaron? Are you anticipating?
I'm anticipating some struggles. I don't know if it's going to be awful, but they made Dylan Gabriel look completely lost. The defensive coordinator the defensive coordinator for Ohio State last year, who's now a defensive coordinator for Penn State.
With totally different players. With the best defense, with the number one defense in college football.
And Oregon has totally different players. Oregon lost 10 starters from last year. So you keep trying to have it one way.
Yeah,
you can't have it just one way because it's the other way.
Aaron,
I'm
keep
giving you
bringing up
layers.
how
I'm
many
giving you
returning
layers.
players
Okay.
that they have. How many
Okay.
returning players did Illinois have? 16. And you saw what happened to them against a new Indiana team. They should be thrown in jail for what happened on Saturday.
You picked Illinois to run away with that game. So clearly your prognostications aren't that great. So let's just stick with the point here. The point is, I'm just saying.
Because I got one game wrong? Okay.
I mean, anyway, my point again. I'm not saying he's going to throw 5 picks. I'm just saying I don't know if he's going to be ready to win that game if it's put on his shoulders. We'll see. If he proves me wrong, I'll come back here next week and I'll be like, I was wrong.
Wait, no. Next week you will come back and be like, well, he needs to do it against Indiana.
What had happened was.
Well, let me ask this question to Anthony here, because Anthony, does Moore need to go win this game for Oregon, or is it, hey, play as close to mistake-free football as you can? We're going to script something maybe a little bit more conservative. We're going to try to make sure that we're in a point where we can continue to run the ball, that we're not behind in this game to the best of our ability. And now it changes what they need from him versus we need you to go out and throw for 300 plus and 3 touchdowns. It's just be a little bit better than a game manager. You know what I'm getting at? Where it depends on how the flow of this game goes.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Well, first of all, George, thank you for being on this show, because now I can sit back. I don't have to deal with that man over there. So I got me a bag of popcorn. I got my Coke. I'm good. So
he goes low, I'll go lower.
But here's the thing. And Aaron, I think you would understand this. I know you're a punter, so maybe you don't because you didn't watch film. So when the defensive coaches for Penn State are looking at film, they're looking at a quarterback that can do a lot of different things. He can run the football. He can throw the football. Okay, he managed the game. He's a smart football player. And when you see some of the throws that he's making, we're talking about, throwing the football. I don't care if you have coverage. He's throwing it in a spot where the defensive back can't make a play. And you have to be gifted to do that. You have a quarterback that can drop back. If there's nothing open, he has the ability to run. And that kills a defense. I don't care who you are. So Dante Moore just has to go out there and be him. Just to, play within what he can do because he has a supporting cast. I think people forget about the supporting cast that he has as receivers, running backs, offensive linemen. Dante Moore hasn't been touched. Are you kidding me? So just be you. It doesn't be. Dante Moore doesn't have to go out there and throw 5,000 yards. But here's another thing. He might throw the ball 5 yards and Moore may take it, or Sadiq may take it 60. So it looks like, the quarterback threw for 60, 800 yards. No, he maybe threw 5 passes that were maybe 6 yards, but the supporting cast did all the work. So Dante will be just fine.
And here's the truth, Aaron. If you ask James Franklin,
I love you guys so much. So funny.
James Franklin would trade Drew Aller for Dante Moore in a heartbeat.
I don't disagree with that.
Okay.
I don't disagree with that.
Well, we'll have more on Drew Aller a little bit later, but when we come back, we'll talk more about this Noles defense for Penn State and whether or not Oregon can rise to the challenge as they get set for their biggest game of the season. We'll be right back on Talkin Ducks. Welcome back to Talkin Ducks. Oregon getting set to head on the road and take on Penn State, and we'll get to the environment here in just a second, but George, it's really the defense for Penn State that is going to be the stiffest challenge for the Ducks, and we've talked about Dante Moore and what's maybe needed from him, but what about the rest of this Oregon offense? Are there any matchups you're looking at as far as the Ducks on offense, Penn State on defense, maybe a particular position group you're keeping an eye on?
Oh, yeah. I'm looking at Worlds and Harkey versus Sutton. their edge rusher. That is going to be the thing because we've talked about keeping Dante Moore. He's been clean all year. And this is the one game that you feel like, okay, they have some guys who are going to be challenging for the tackles in particular. So the Ducks have to win that matchup. And so Sutton is one, and then Amari Campbell, one of their linebackers, who is, he makes a lot of tackles and he's running around. But on the Penn State side, this is going to be their first test. You can't look at their schedule of Nevada, FIU, and then Villanova, and
Watch
then
out
say,
for
"Oh,
Villanova. I'm
huh?"
just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Exactly. So you're looking at them and you're saying, wait, hold up. They are the number one defense in the country, top 15 in yards allowed, but there's still an asterisk by it because you haven't played an offense that has a pulse at this point in time. So, I mean, it's the truth. So, or
Yeah.
or anybody that could even rival you in any way. So we're looking at it from the Duck side, like they haven't played a top 25 team yet. But Penn State has not either, and Penn State was literally just off last week, so they're coming off a bye. And this feels like a situation that, yes, it's going to be a big game for the Ducks, but this is also a test and a measuring stick for Penn State as well, because people aren't really giving them the credit for their playoff wins because they're like, dude, you played SMU, maybe they shouldn't have been in. Then they played Boise, and you're like, whatever. So they're not getting the proper respect for what they did either. So this is a statement game for them as well.
Yeah, Aaron, it's interesting because you have the bye week if you're Penn State. You haven't been tested against anybody. And what do you make of this defense? And what are you looking at on the Oregon offense as well, too?
It's interesting, the whole, was it good to have a bye week or good to play? I think in this situation, since you came out injury free, it was good to play because you were able to stay sharper. Whereas, like George said, Penn State has really played nobody, but they're only giving up not even 6 points per game. So yeah, you're playing nobody, but damn, you're suffocating those nobodies. I agree. We don't know for sure what this Penn State defense is going to be. We know it's way better than what Oregon has faced. My concern for Oregon is, are they going to be able to run the ball consistently? I'm not sure if they are, which is why I think this game is going to fall on Dante Moore to have to carry them a little bit on offense. And I haven't felt like they've rushed for a lot of yards against bad teams, but I don't feel the same level of dominance you felt in some years when this team was really cranking out the yarders. Like, I just feel like this team can be slowed up a bit. I don't feel like they have a marquee star back at all. I like Jaden Lamar. He's not LaMichael. He's not Royce. He's not Kenyon. He's not, DeAnthony or Stewart. And Noah, he's iffy, but I don't think Noah's on that level. So I think they have to be able to run the football, and I don't think they're going to be able to. And I think Knowles is going to dial up some blitzes. I think he's going to have his guys in disciplined coverage. That was the main thing with the Ohio State loss, is that they were rushing four most of the time, and no one was open because the discipline and coverage was there. And so now you're without Evan Stewart, and you got receivers that you're kind of still, trying to feel out, which I think they've arrived in terms of having the basics down, but I don't know if they're ready for this level of defense on the road. I think they're going to struggle.
Yeah, Anthony, I mean, you always see it from a defensive coordinator perspective. What do you see from Penn State that makes it such a impressive defense so far?
A lot of speed. There's a lot of speed on that Oregon football team, and they can do several things on the field. I mean, they can play some power football. They can play spread football. They have a quarterback that can run the football if need be. They have a lot of running backs that can do different things out of the backfield. So it's a lot to cover. There's a lot of field, a lot of space you have to deal with. And as a defensive back or a linebacker, dealing with space sometimes can be very hard when a guy's quicker and faster than you.
Yep.
So that's the problem that I'm looking at from Penn State, from their defensive side, is can they deal with space? Can they tackle in space? Can they make those one-on-one tackles? Because if you start getting yak yards after contact, then there's trouble.
I look at the schematics of this.
George is going.
I was saying the schematics of this, right? Because Oregon has not shown what they're going to show in this game. Penn State has not shown what they're going to show in this game. So you're going to have Stein make an adjustment from what the Big Ten championship game was, and then also based upon the Ohio State game with Jim Knowles. So I think that we could see a completely different strategy from both of these teams than we've seen at all this year already.
Fair.
Yeah, it'll be telling, but still early in the season, a lot of moving pieces. I don't think either team has shown their hand for the most part. It'll certainly be fascinating. All right, when we come back, we'll talk about the Oregon defense. They're going to travel. They're going to be taking on one of the better quarterbacks they've seen this season in Drew Aller. We'll talk more about that when we come back on Talkin Ducks. Welcome back into Talkin Ducks. Oregon on the road, taking on Penn State. Huge game, one that everybody's looking forward to, and we welcome the Penn State fans, of course, that have joined us for the program. And listen, we're excited for this one. We hope it's a good game up in Happy Valley. We just want a good contest. And speaking of which, Anthony, when you've got a run defense that has been a little shaky this year on the road against a team that can certainly run the ball well, they've got a great offensive line, they've got some veteran play. Not the best recipe if you're trying to give yourself the best chance to win if you're Oregon. What do you make about this Ducks defense and what will clearly be their biggest test this season?
Well, yeah, it's no doubt a big test, the running game. But let's talk about their quarterback first. And I think there's an advantage for Oregon going against the quarterback, Drew Aller. He's a guy that can command an offense. He can throw the football all over the place. But he doesn't have those receivers like he had last year. Tyler Warren, the best tight end in the country. The receivers are good. Here's the difference. When you're looking at the Oregon secondary is better than they were last year. And when you see the DBs for Oregon, it's unbelievable when you get on the field and you're standing next to those corners and they're all 6'4". I mean, all of them are 6'4". It's unreal, the length. And the safeties. The two safeties, Newman is a dog. This guy will come hit everything, and he's a downhill guy. Then you have that 6'5" safety, Kingston Lopa. So the secondary is going to change a little bit if you start throwing the football. The problem for Oregon is stopping the running game. You got to stop Penn State's running game, and they will run the football all over the place. They got two good running backs. They can go inside, outside. They can catch the ball out of the backfield, and they got a solid offensive line. That will be the challenge for Oregon's defense.
Yeah, it really feels like it's going to come down to that, Aaron. Can the defense do enough to stop the run of Penn State? If not, we've seen this before with Oregon in some of these matchups. It's going to be a long night for the Ducks if they can't win first down in those situations.
Yeah, that's the game to me, because this team rode the running game to the semifinals last year. They ran all over Oregon in the Big Ten title game. But Drew Aller...
That they lost. Just want to... Despite all those rushing yards, they lost. Just saying.
Yards don't beat you. Points do.
That's what I wanted to hear.
That wasn't the point, but that's okay. But Drew Aller has to step up, and I'm kind of disappointed in his start. And I did a dual podcast with some Penn Live people, to our sister website in Pennsylvania, and they're like saying the same thing. Like, everyone's waiting for this guy to take the next step in his evolution. Even that Oregon game last year, he had some incredible throws. That fourth down throw for the touchdown was unbelievable. But he also had two critical picks that were, ill-advised passes. One taken to the house, and the other one ended the game at the end. So he can be feast or famine, and he just hasn't proven that he can carry the team. But I don't think he has to, because I do think the run game is going to be there. I think they're going to rush for 250, and I think if they do that, Aller's going to be more comfortable. He's going to be able to pick his spots and take care of the football and not have a lot of pressure on him, and rise to the occasion in a game like this where I'm not sure if Dante will be able to.
You said rush for 250. If they rush for 250, that Oregon is 100% losing this football game.
You just said they got 290 last year and Oregon still won.
Listen,
now it's 250.
This is a different.
I know the viewers see it. It's okay. Go ahead, George.
Yes, this is the same team that won after giving up a lot of rushing yards last year, but this can't be it. This Dan Lanning will go out on the field himself and trip somebody if needed, like that. It's just one of those things that this is what they're pointing to. They're saying if you want to be an elite national championship caliber team, you can't get rushed for on 250 yards on you. It just cannot happen. Now, are they really good running the football? Would 180 on like 40 carries work? Sure, right? For the defense, like, you're not going to be able to just stone their run game completely. But what you do have to do is force Drew Aller to beat you, because he cannot. And he is the ultimate, the guy that they make excuses for. Oh, he's really Josh Allen, but it's the wide receiver's fault. He doesn't have this in the talent, and he's not Josh Allen. He's not. He's Kerry Collins. That's who he is. and there's nothing wrong with Kerry Collins. He went to the NFL.
Yeah, why you talking?
Kerry Collins had a nice little career.
Kerry Collins,
but
top 5 pick, wasn't he?
But they think that he is a generational type. That's not who he is. But best case scenario is Kerry Collins. But Kerry Collins was more dynamic in college, but that's a whole nother story. So I'm make Drew Aller beat you because he cannot, and then they will make excuses because it's everybody else's fault after.
I agree. You have to make Aller beat you. I don't think they're going to. 250 might be much. I'll say more like 215, somewhere in there. They're definitely going to crack 200, and we'll see if they break off a long one late. But there's no reason for me to believe that this defense is necessarily better than last year's defense because you tell me how talented it is. Last year's defense was suspect, which I pointed out all year, and sure enough, they got blasted in the playoff game against Ohio State. And I know you're going to say this is
the best
Ohio
team
State.
in the country. Are you kidding me?
Okay, but they also
They're the national champions.
But they also gave up 500 yards against. They also gave up 500
they're the best team in the
country.
country.
Anthony. I mean, it was really bad though.
And the Penn State game, they gave up 500 yards, including 300 rushing. So I'm just saying, in this environment, in this situation, look, if they go in there and they stonewall that rushing attack with those 2 backs and that veteran offensive line, I will come here on Monday and say this team has a chance to win a national title. I just don't believe it. I got to see it to believe it. I haven't seen it yet, so I'm not going to believe it. We were joking on the Ducks confidence.
Is the sun going to come up in the morning, Aaron? Is the sun going to come up in the morning?
George and I were joking on the Ducks Confidential podcast, which you can catch on Oregon Live, that I'm not going to open up the window for the Ducks to win the national championship until Dan Lanning is hoisting the trophy at the national title game. But that's an exaggeration.
Is the sun coming up in the morning?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
What's your point?
Yeah,
What's your point?
He has to see it to believe it. Of course. I wouldn't answer that question either.
Last question for you real quick, Anthony. If you want to make Drew Aller beat you, what are you doing as a defensive coordinator coming into this game?
Stack the box.
Well, yeah.
I said Anthony.
Aaron is correct.
You wait your turn. You had the turn.
He guessed. I don't know how he guessed right. But yeah, you have to stack the box. You have to bring a safety in the box. I think you can play man-to-man on the outside. Again, they don't have that great tight end in Tyler Warren, so they can play man-to-man on the outside because I think the defensive backs with the length can do that. So now you bring these safeties in the box. You have to slow the running game down. If they're running the football with success, then they're keeping the Oregon offense off the field. They're controlling the clock. That's a bad sign.
All right.
That's why they play the game, baby.
Go ahead.
Aaron, can you please stop interrupting Anthony,
just
please?
Interrupting,
Jeez
speaking
Louise.
out of turn.
I just said that's why they play the
I
game.
thought you had better manners than that, Aaron. Any other words before we get to break here, Aaron?
No, I'm good. Carry on, Jordan. I'm used to hosting for the last couple of weeks. So
okay. I know. I've been gone the last couple of weeks, I will say. Hey, I appreciate you covering for me, man. All right, when we come back, we're going to talk about Oregon's matchup against Penn State, what this means for Oregon if they get the victory. Does this vault them into the national championship conversation, or will there still be more to prove for the Ducks? Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more Talkin Ducks. Welcome back to Talkin Ducks, and since he was so persistent on just getting a word in at every single moment last segment, I'm going to let you start with this one, Aaron. We'll get to what this win means for Oregon if they get over Penn State here in a second, but you look at the schedule, and you get the schedule when the season begins, and you're thinking this is a big game, this is a big game, and then it morphs during the year based on how teams are doing, and yes, it's easy to circle this game against Penn State as the biggest one of the year, but depending on how things go, Oregon could have another top 10 matchup for their next game against Indiana. USC is looking really good. My question to you is, which game after Penn State are you most concerned about from Oregon's perspective?
So yeah, when this schedule came out last year, I was like, this is going to be dreadful. But now, listen to this. Penn State, Indiana's 4-0, ranked number 11. USC number 21. Iowa's 3-1. Washington's 3-0. Minnesota 2-1. Even Wisconsin's 2-2. Decent. Rutgers is 3-1. The rest of their schedule are combined 24-5. This is going to be lit. I'm excited. This is what I live for in terms of covering football. And it gives them a lot of opportunities to, there's some losable moments, but it gives them a lot of opportunities to prove themselves. But look, if they beat Penn State, going on the road and doing it with everything working against them that I believe is there, absolutely after that, you got to take them seriously as having what I'll call a puncher's chance of winning it all, which is what I gave them last year. Do I think the window's completely open? I don't know after one game at Penn State, because now here's the other thing. Even if they lose, though, I think you come out of it with a lot of room to grow, clearly, and things you can learn from, just like Ohio State did last year when Ohio State lost at Oregon, right? They lost at Oregon, and then 3 months later, they're pounding Oregon in a bowl game. So regardless of what happens, there's going to be a positive that comes out of this. But man, the schedule looks tough. So, just because even if they clear this, there's still some losable games along the way.
And that's sometimes almost a bit of a trap game here, Anthony, because you have so much that goes into this one. Unfortunately for Oregon, it's really good timing for a bye week, because if you get this win and it's big and emotional, that's a tough turnaround if you had to play Indiana the very next week at home and ramp up again for something of that caliber, versus you get a week off, you get a chance to kind of digest this and now prepare for a tough part of your schedule coming up here soon.
Well, I know a lot of people are making a big deal out of this Penn State-Oregon game. And yes, there's no doubt. But it's still early in the season. And just like Ohio State did last year, they lost to Oregon early and they won the whole thing. Indiana, I'm not sold on Indiana. And that's my opinion, because I don't know how good Illinois is. What USC scares me a little bit. USC's offense. No, I'm just saying this. USC's offense looks like Oregon's offense. There's a lot of weapons on offense, and there's a lot of speed. Now, I don't know if the defense is up to par, but the offense looks pretty good. The offense, they got some guys flying around at receiver, and I'm like, that might be a challenge. It'd be a lot of fun. It'd be a good game to watch. But Indiana, I'm not sold on them yet. So I don't know if that's going to be this is the biggest game besides Penn State of the year. We'll see.
George,
go at Anthony. Go at Anthony. You said what? Like you do. Go at him like you go at me. Go ahead. I'm watching this one. Go.
Whoa.
You're the only one we saved that energy for, Aaron. That's the thing.
Really.
I know.
Aaron. Number one, this is not how that works. And number two, Aaron, do you treat your kids the same?
Yeah.
Lies. All of them, they are different. You can't treat them the same. You can't.
The baby's always baby's special.
The same way. You can't handle everybody the same way. You deserve to be going that hard. You've earned this. No. But I look at the rest of the schedule, and Indiana scared the hell out of me last week, because I thought I had Illinois dialed in, and it should be illegal what they did to them last week. And USC, I look at USC, I watched the Michigan State game, I've watched their other games, and they feel very smoke and mirrors. They look just like him at Oklahoma. It all looks good until you find somebody who's not gonna be like, hey, look, there's a dinosaur. And then you go over there and just take your eyes to the wrong place. When they play people who are fundamentally sound, Michigan State couldn't stop a nosebleed. And they couldn't stop a nosebleed versus Youngstown State. So they damn sure weren't going to be able to stop USC. So I look at USC. As long as you play disciplined defense, they're going to take them but behind the woodshed, especially because all the recruits are going to be on campus that weekend too. Oh, Lord have mercy. This is going to be like Colorado a couple years ago, except for they'll score a few more points. But that Indiana game at Iowa, because Iowa can drag you down into the mud and just get you in a sloppy game. But to me, I came into the season with a floor of this team at 10-2. I expected them to go 10-2 or 11-1. They get past Penn State. That floor now to me goes up to 11-1. Obviously, health withstanding of your quarterback and of any other like major pieces. So I'm excited about this team, and I'm excited about the rest of the schedule. It looks manageable though after this Penn State game and then the Indiana game.
Last question for you guys. What does a win against Penn State do for Oregon moving forward? Right now, they're at 6. They've kind of been outside of that national championship contending conversation, which is where you sometimes want to be. But Aaron, you get a marquee win like this, you could argue this would be the most impressive win of the season because nobody's gone on the road and beat a team of this caliber so far.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, this is huge. If they can pull this off, given all the things that they have stacked against them, which I believe are insurmountable obstacles for this week, then yeah, I think it changes the narrative somewhat. But then what people are going to say is, yeah, but Penn State, they barely beat anybody. There's always a caveat, right? Especially,
they're going to be the number one team in the nation if they win this week.
Whoa,
really?
That's a big leap right there. 5 spots.
Because I think we are going to get an outlier result on Montlake this weekend. I'm picking the low down, dirty, nasty Huskies to beat Ohio State. Ohio State has no idea what they are running into, and their fans going on Montlake. I'm gonna tell you.
Okay.
And
so George Wrighster. Go ahead, Aaron.
To say that,
but if Washington could beat Ohio, but if Washington could beat Ohio State, then that raises the ante for when Oregon goes to Washington, right? So
yes,
so that changes the math anyway. So yeah, this would be huge. But it's Newman said this earlier, and Joey was a master of pointing this out too, right? It's October. No, it's not even October. It's September. It's late September. It's not even October. Sorry, right?
Cares?
It's so early.
Who cares? Is what you would say.
But it would just. They have a lot going against them, and you overcome that. That is impressive, period. So, yeah, it'll mean a lot, no doubt. I will concede that.
We'll give you our predictions when we come back. Oregon on the road at Penn State, biggest game of the season. We'll let you know how it'll go down when we come back on Talkin Ducks. Welcome back to Talkin Ducks. Time to close up shop and give you our predictions. Oregon, 3.5-point dogs on the road against Penn State. Mr. Anthony Newman, let's start with you. Give us your thoughts and your prediction for this one.
Yeah, I think this game is speed against power. Penn State's going to try to play power football. They're going to run the football. And Oregon has speed. And when you have speed, you can score points. This has to be 4 quarters of football, mistake-free football. You can't beat yourself. You can't hurt yourself with penalties. I think Oregon gets it 35-28. I think the speed of Oregon will affect Penn State because they haven't seen that yet. And how do you mimic that in practice? It's hard. And they haven't played anybody yet. So it's going to be difficult for them.
George.
Ooh. All right. I am going to go with a
you can do it.
35 17. 35-17 or 35.
Dang, you think Oregon's going to beat by 18?
No, Aaron. No, Aaron. I'm sorry, sir.
You're taking Oregon by 18?
Yeah. And I know that sounds outrageous, and it feels outrageous. They will score in between 17 and 24 points at a maximum. Will Penn State, and then Oregon will be somewhere between 31 and 38.
Okay.
All right. I've traveled to the state of Pennsylvania 3 times to cover a football team, the Seahawks. They're 3-0 when I was there with them. So, Northwest football teams have a good record when I'm following them to Pennsylvania. However, I'm about to fall to 3-1 in that record because I think Penn State's going to rush for over 200. I think Drew Aller is going to make enough plays to win this game. I think the Ducks' run game is going to sputter. I think Dante Moore is not going to be able to carry them. I don't think he's going to have a bad game, but it's going to be obvious he's not going to be able to carry them. I think I got it 30-20 right now, Penn State, but I don't think it's a situation where it's a bad thing. I think you come out of it taking your
don't try to backdoor it now.
No.
That's why I said this before. You come out of the loss and you have a week off, and then you got a week to prepare, 2 weeks to prepare for Indiana. And I think you're going to be a much better team on the other side of this. But I just don't think that they have anyone on this roster has really proven that they're ready for this. And I think it's just going to be too much, and they have to go through it to become better, just like Marcus had to go through it twice. I forgot the next year they lost at Stanford after looking unbeatable, right? And then in 14, boom, they take off. So that's my prediction. I'm sticking to it. 30-20 Penn State.
Clip that. Let's start the show.
Clip it.
Next week.
Clip it. Clip it. Tweet it. Clip what you got to do.
All right. Well, Aaron, I appreciate it, guys. Thanks again, as always. I've got real quick Oregon 24-21. I think it'll be a lower scoring game. underneath the bright lights. Should be a fun one. That'll do it for this edition of Talkin' Ducks. Make sure you join us next week as we recap this big game against Penn State.